Welcome to Mathematical Analysis. Today, we are going to explore the absolute foundation of calculus, which is the representation of real numbers. Whether you are dealing with simple fractions or complex, never-ending decimals, understanding how these numbers live on a continuous line is the first step to mastering advanced mathematics. Let us dive in. To begin, imagine an infinitely long, perfectly smooth ruler stretching out forever in both directions. Why does this matter? Because in mathematical analysis, we need a geometric way to visualize abstract quantities. Every single point on this ruler corresponds to exactly one number, and every possible number has its own unique spot. This includes rational numbers, which are neat fractions like 1/2, and irrational numbers like pi or the square root of 2, whose decimals go on forever. There are absolutely no gaps on this line. Now that we understand the concept, let us look at how this line is actually drawn. You are seeing a straight horizontal line with the origin marked at 0. Positive numbers stretch out to the right and negative numbers stretch out to the left. Notice how we have placed specific dots for different types of numbers. The fraction 3/2 sits exactly halfway between 1 and 2. The irrational number square root of 2 is just before it, and pi sits just past the number 3. Every number has its exact, permanent home here. Looking at our number line brings us to a fascinating exception in how we name these points. You might think every point has exactly one decimal name, but some actually have two. Why is this important? Because it teaches us that a repeating decimal is not just a static string of digits, but actually a limit of a sequence. The most famous example is that 0.999 repeating is exactly equal to the number 1. Because the gap between them is exactly 0, they must occupy the exact same physical point on our real number line. Before we move on, let us prove this quickly using simple algebra to see exactly why it works. We are setting out to show that these two completely different looking numbers are mathematically identical. We start our proof by letting a variable x equal 0.999 repeating. Next, we use a standard algebraic trick for dealing with repeating decimals. We multiply both sides of our equation by 10. This operation shifts the decimal point exactly one spot to the right, giving us 10x equals 9.999 repeating. Notice carefully that the infinite tail of 9s remain exactly the same as before. Now that we have our two equations set up, we can subtract the original x equation from our new 10x equation. Because the infinite tail of 9s is exactly the same in both numbers, they cancel each other out completely when we perform the subtraction. This leaves us with a clean whole number 9 on the right side and 9x on the left side. By dividing both sides by 9, we find that x equals exactly 1. Since x was originally defined as 0.9 repeating, we have successfully proven our result. The real number line remains perfectly consistent. So we have proven that our points are consistent. This brings us to our next crucial tool, measuring the distance between any 2 points on this line. Why do we need a special mathematical tool for this? Because in everyday life, distance is always a positive amount. You cannot walk -5 miles. In mathematics, we ensure distance is always positive by using the absolute value function. This function simply strips away any negative sign, telling us exactly how far a number is from 0, regardless of which direction we are moving on the number line. This concept of positive distance gives us a very simple but powerful formula. Conceptually, we just find the difference between two positions and force it to be positive. The formula is d of x comma y equals the absolute value of x minus y. Here, d stands for the distance. The variables x and y represent the exact positions of our 2 points on the number line. The vertical bars are the absolute value operation. If the gap between x and y increases, the distance increases. The absolute value guarantees that whether you travel from x to y or y to x, the physical distance remains exactly the same. Before we move on, let us see this with a concrete example. We are given 2 points, x equals 5 and y equals 2, and we are asked to find the distance between them. We choose our absolute value formula because it perfectly handles the gap between any two coordinates. We substitute 5 and 2 into the formula, giving us the absolute value of 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 is 3, and the absolute value of positive 3 is simply 3. Physically, this means there are exactly 3 units of space separating these 2 points on our ruler. Now that we have used this distance formula, let us look at a fundamental rule that governs it, the triangle inequality. Why is this rule so vital? Because it is used constantly in advanced proofs to show that mathematical errors do not blow up out of control. Imagine you are walking from your house to the park. The shortest path is always a straight line directly there. If you decide to stop at a coffee shop along the way, your total trip will either be exactly the same length or it will be longer. A detour can never shorten your trip. This everyday intuition translates directly into our next formula. Conceptually, it just compares a direct trip to a trip with a stopover. The formula states that d of x, z is less than or equal to d of x, y plus d of y, z. Here, x is your starting point, z is your final destination, and y is your detour point. The left side is the direct distance. The right side is the sum of the two legs of the detour. If you move the detour point y further away from the direct path, the right side of the equation increases, but the direct distance on the left remains unchanged. Let us test this inequality using 3 specific real numbers to see how it behaves. We are given a starting point x at -2, a detour point y at +3, and a final destination z at +1. We need to verify if the direct distance is truly less than or equal to the detour path. First, we calculate the direct distance from x to z. We substitute -2 and +1 into our absolute value formula. Subtracting 1 from -2 gives us -3. The absolute value strips the sign, giving us a direct distance of exactly 3 units. Continuing with our problem, we now need to calculate the length of the detour. We start with the first leg, from x to y. Substituting -2 and +3 into our formula, we get -2 minus 3, which is -5. The absolute value makes this +5 units. Next, we calculate the second leg, from the detour y to the destination z. We substitute 3 and 1. 3 minus 1 is 2, and its absolute value remains 2. So our detour consists of a 5-unit leg followed by a 2-unit leg. Finally, we plug all these calculated distances back into our triangle inequality formula to see if it holds true. We place our direct distance of 3 on the left side. We place the sum of our detour distances, 5 plus 2, on the right side. This simplifies to 3 is less than or equal to 7. This is a true statement. Physically, this proves that taking the detour through the number 3 made the total trip 7 units long, which is indeed greater than the direct 3-unit path. The inequality works perfectly. This foundational understanding of distance leads us to how we group numbers together. Often we do not just want to talk about single points. We want to talk about whole chunks or segments of the real number line. Why? Because defining the domain of a function requires specifying exactly which numbers are allowed. These chunks are called intervals. The crucial detail is how we handle the boundaries. If we include the endpoints themselves, we call it a closed interval. If we strictly exclude the boundary points, we call it an open interval. Let us see how this is written. Let us contrast a closed interval with an open interval using a specific example. We are given the endpoints 2 and 5, and we want to represent all the real numbers between them. First, let us define the closed interval, which we will call set A. We write this using square brackets around the 2 and the 5. The square brackets are a mathematical instruction that says include every single decimal between 2 and 5 and also include the exact number 2 and the exact number 5. On a number line, these would be solid, filled-in dots. Continuing with our endpoints, let us now define the open interval, which we will call set B. We write this using round parentheses around the 2 and the 5. These parentheses tell us that set B includes all the numbers strictly between 2 and 5, but it absolutely forbids the exact boundaries. It includes numbers as close as 2.00001, but the exact number 2 is excluded. On a number line, you would draw hollow circles at the ends. This distinction is vital for many calculus theorems. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us review the most important ideas. First, the real number line is continuous, with absolutely no gaps, providing a geometric home for every rational and irrational number. Second, we learned that distance on this line is always positive, measured using the absolute value function. Third, the triangle inequality guarantees that a direct path is always the shortest route. Finally, we saw how to group these numbers into open and closed intervals. You now have the exact foundational tools needed to tackle the hardest proofs in calculus. Great work today.